All right, so welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where we're here to live a life on purpose, to be flourished and fulfilled in all areas of our life. I'm here with Kirk McDowell, and I wanted to deep dive on living a life of purpose. And it's about prioritizing what really matters to us, what truly matters to us. And that's according to our values and our beliefs and our principles. So I wanted to ask you about principles and values versus standards and ideals.
Nice, nice, nice. Um, okay, perfect. So let's start off with standards and ideals. So in this conversation, I'm making an accusation or making an assertion. I'm saying that something is true, and anybody can feel into it for themselves, right? But I'm suggesting that this is true. And what I'm suggesting is true is that we've all been domesticated. So everybody pretty much knows what that means with relationship to, farm animals, cows, sheep, pigs, horses have been domesticated. Domestic animals, cats and dogs, Virgils, hamsters, and whatever the other one is,
Gerbils.
gerbils, yes, Virgils. Uh, I'm here to declare Virgils have been domesticated. We did it. I'm sorry, who is this guy? Anyway, so so we've been domesticated, right? And we kind of have a sense of what that means with regard to cute animals that we have in our homes or animals that we eat, essentially. So a domestication deliberately and on purpose alters the very essence of the being, right? So a wild dog is fundamentally different than a domesticated dog. So I have a dog named Sadie. She's a little bit over a year and a half old. And, 30,000 years ago, dogs were completely wild and feral and, wolf like, coyote like. Um, but my dog, 30,000 years later, dogs have been domesticated for about 30,000 years. 30,000 years later, my dog is looks for my approval and expects me to take care of her. And I mean, I created that with her, but like I'm her constant companion. In fact, I'm her alpha. I'm the boss of our little clan we got going on here in Fort Tribe, right? And that's not how dogs were designed. So the very design of dog has been altered to suit our purposes.
Yeah.
So if I had a wolf on my front porch, it would be a very different experience than my little domesticated, cute, 22 pound, ball of love,
Yeah.
So you could, look at chickens, for example, right? Chickens were much smaller. They could fly really good. They laid really small eggs. They could totally take care of themselves. They were a proud species, got it all going on. And then we show up and turn them into fat, humongous egg laying creatures that bear very little resemblance to their original design. Right. So
Hmm.
this is a couple of examples to kind of break, domestication literally is a manipulation and alteration of the design of a being, let's say an animal, for a specific purpose. Dogs were domesticated to be friendly, to take care of children, to guard the village, to stop predators, on and on and on. There's different dogs to lay on your lap and do absolutely nothing. So dogs have been domesticated for different purposes, but each purpose was very specific.
Yeah.
And then chicken, same thing, domesticated for a very specific purpose to be easy to take care of, right, and to produce a whole lot.
Yeah.
So let that resonate. Easy to manage and profitable. So now let's move to human domestication.
Hmm. How do we do
Easy
this with
to
humans?
manage and profitable, right? So if you were a government of a country, you're responsible for the management of a country, it's very tempting to want to have the citizens of that country be as compliant as possible. right? You're trying to do a good job. You're trying to take care of everybody. You're trying to make sure this community has water and that community has food and this community has a fire department, blah. You're trying to manage all the stuff. Everything is 100 times more complicated than any of the citizenry have any idea, right?
Hmm.
And what you ideally love to do is just come up with a great plan and execute the plan, absent a lot of distraction and riots and constant demands and just whatever people get up to.
Yeah.
You ever notice people get up to a lot of stuff, crime and just all the stuff, hurt each other and all the stuff, right? So, trying to get each other to talk different ways, pronouns, just all kind of crazy shit people do.
He,
So,
she.
yeah, now you gotta call me this. I don't even fucking know you. I gotta call you nothing. Anyway, so that'd be my immediate response. I don't even know you. Anyway, so the domestication kind of works like this, right? You're born. Everybody's really excited for a minute, unless they're not. Depends. You're born either so everybody's really excited or they're not, right? And then you do something everybody likes, and you get some positive attention. You get a reward,
Hmm.
like you coo in a really cute way. Everybody goes, "Oh, reward." You go, "Oh,
Yeah.
cute and really cute is the way to go, yo. Come on." And then a minute later, you poop in your pants or you spit on somebody. Everybody's, "No, don't do that." Right? And the domestication begins day one, we're off to the races, full on domestication. And then,
Yeah.
as you're a child, as you're an infant and a toddler and a child, you do stuff that is approved of and you're rewarded, and you do stuff that's disapproved of and you're punished,
Yeah.
sometimes quite severely. And then you go to school, and then you discover that your teacher is very much like your parents, in that if you do the right thing, you get rewarded. If you do the wrong thing, you get punished. And then you meet your new friends, and you find out actually they're very much the same way. If you understand how the social clique works, and you wear the right stuff and do the right stuff and say the right stuff and have the right accent and whatever the fuck else, you're rewarded. You got it right. Yay. Get any of those things wrong, however, and it's a very unpleasant experience as a child. I was someone who got it wrong frequently. Right? So,
Hmm.
so and then, you're really excited about finally getting into the workforce and being your own person and being a grown ass adult and, the captain of your own ship. And then you meet your boss. And then you find out your
Oh,
boss very much like your teacher and very much like your parents, in that if you get it right, you get rewarded. And if you get it wrong, you get punished. And then you meet your coworkers. And then you get it wrong, you get punished. You get it right, you get rewarded. On and on. In fact, we're so committed to it that we then have our own families and domesticate our children and family members. So wives domesticate their husbands, husbands domesticate their wives, everybody's domesticating children, children domesticate each other. So we're literally a self-domesticating species. I think that might be unique on the planet. Everybody say, "Hey, we did it. We're domesticating ourselves. We're ready for our little gold star."
oh
All
man.
right, so that's the domestication. So
Yeah.
your standards and ideals, all the stuff they want you to do. So I know there's a lot of people are really concerned about what they think, but I love to bring this to people's attention. You actually don't know who they are. They don't know who you are. If you met them, you probably would neither like them nor respect them. And if they met you, they almost certainly would neither like or respect you. Yet you are curtailing and shrinking and shapeshifting every aspect of your life so that they will approve to you. And you've never met they. They don't exist. There is no capital T they keeping an eye on you getting it right. Now, you may have a crazy family, you may have crazy friends, you may have a crazy job, all the stuff. I'm not saying that there's not an abundance of crazy out there. I'm not saying that. Totally an abundance of
Yeah.
crazy. Everybody can feel completely accomplished. We hit the crazy quota on the planet. Good job, everybody, for putting together and really seeing it through, getting it done. I think we might have overpendulated, but that's another podcast.
Yep. That's the crazy podcast.
Yeah,
Tune
yeah,
in tune in next week.
right. Uh, but the domestication literally is you, the person who's listening to this, right? So I know you're different and special and been working on yourself for 20 years and all the stuff, but nonetheless, you, person who's looking at this 3 weeks later and all the rest of it, right? You live your life in an unconscious way, completely constrained by everything you've been taught in the domestication. You
Hmm.
don't do certain things because you just know it's wrong. You don't do certain things because you just know they won't like it. You do certain things because you just know it's right. But is it right? Who actually told you that? And did that person who told you that have your best interest in mind? Or did you even hear it correctly?
Yeah.
Right? There's something that's an interesting conversation, which I'm not completely at the source of, but it's fascinating. The general public, the masses always get it wrong, whatever it is. It's the
Hmm.
nature of what it takes for everybody to agree on a thing robs it from any connection to reality. To get everybody to agree on a thing means it must be so homogenized and so trigger free that it doesn't actually contain anything. So, so even the stuff that we all agree on that we know is right is mostly bullshit. Stuff
Yeah.
that people unconsciously agree on and don't know it. Um, the dollar is a really powerful thing and is going to be around forever. Or money makes me happy. Or the news is essentially run by good people trying to inform us. Or the government is essentially good people trying to serve the public. Um, the medical industry is essentially committed to our health and safety. The military industrial complex is essentially committed to our safety. So we all sort of naturally believe these things.
Hmm.
Well, I know the military complex is not for our best interest. Yeah, but you're not like, you kind of know it, but it's not impacting anything. Like you're still
Right.
completely conforming to it, right? So even if you like, some of these things are an illusion, if you live your life 100% inside the illusion, knowing it really makes no difference. So, to know and not to do is not to know, right? So
Yeah.
if you know that everything about the dollar is illusionary and counterfeit and promotes starvation and corruption and slavery, if you know that and you continue to use it and continue to worship it, um, you know, you don't really know it. So now anybody here could disagree with me on specific points. I mentioned some things that you could have a bone of contention about: the dollar, medical industry, the news, governments, that sort of thing, military industry. You could maybe argue one or two of those for a minute or two. I don't know if you could do it successfully, but I appreciate that there's some subjectiveness to what I'm saying. However, the objectiveness is this. What is it? What is for sure happening is this. Many aspects of your life are constrained, dark, unobserved, unhealed, that you're unaware of. Many capacities you have that have been buried, stifled, stuffed. What's possible for you
Mm.
in reality is not possible for you in practice for the following reasons: because you've been domesticated. And in the domestication, your ability to see what's around you has been thwarted, has been diminished. Your ability to feel your own feelings has been diminished. Your ability to think critically and cognate with great power and clarity has been diminished. Your ability to process your emotions has been diminished. Your sense of your self-worth has been diminished. Your sense of a connection to a greater power has been diminished. And I could go on for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's the fruit of the domestication. And so the standards and ideals that people live from, this is good, this is bad. Everybody should do this. Everybody should be a Republican. Everybody should be a Democrat. Everybody should be a vegetarian. Everybody should eat meat. Everybody should believe in climate change. Everybody's an idiot if they believe in climate change. On and on and on and on. Like it's whatever the thing is, right? I'm trying to get as many triggering topics as possible. People should have taken the vaccine. They shouldn't have taken the vaccine. You're stupid if you did. You're stupid if you didn't. All the stuff, right? All those standards and ideals, all those things are part of the domestication, because what we're essentially taught in the domestication is no matter what, no matter what the cost, get it right.
Yeah.
And so that is not a place of freedom or or sovereignty or divinity or creativity. That is a small, dark place that is confusing. There's no clear direction. There's no clear channel. You try something, you get beat down because there's no even clear rules to the domestication. Domestication just is whoever is bigger and meaner in front of you, they get to domesticate you.
Yeah.
Or a institution gets to domesticate, like a school system domesticates the children. People think
Yeah.
school is for education. Nothing could be further from the truth. You'll notice people don't get educated in school. People come out of college like complete fucking idiots who can't think their way out of a brown paper bag, having spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's a complete ripoff. In fact, what schools are actually for is to domesticate on purpose by design. Schools were literally designed initially in Europe to create soldiers and in the United States to create factory workers. They're literally designed for that purpose. That's not a conspiracy theory. It may be a conspiracy, but it's not a theory. Uh, it's not hyperbole. It's not drama. It's fact,
Yeah.
right? So people go to school. People encourage their kids to go to school and work really hard and go to college and get an education. We're taught this illusionary path to freedom and happiness, but it's actually a path to domestication. People I know who spent all these years in college don't fucking know anything and don't know how to think. Most of them, I know there are exceptions. Um, and happily give away all of the best years of their life to do a job that they have no interest in, that doesn't make a difference in the world, so that they can have money, and they think the money is going to make them happy. And the whole thing is a scam. The whole thing is literally a lie that no one's being held accountable to. And then the money itself isn't what it, even if it was exactly what it was presented as, it's really not. It's a Ponzi scheme. The government, through inflation, is stealing from its citizenry every day at higher and higher rates. And mathematically, it is going to come to an end soon. It does. The type of banking that we do is finite, and it's
Yeah.
going to crash. And nobody knows. Or some people say, well, yeah, I know that. Well, nobody cares. Well, yeah, I do. Well, nobody appears, very few people, we actually are here at Earthquaking, but very few people seem to be taking any action that is directly connected to reality with regard to the dollar and other things. So anyway, so standards and ideals, there's no mystery where they come from. They come from the domestication. They're a defense mechanism to get it right, to be safe, to keep your good standing in with whatever community is important to you, your job, for example, your school, your friends, your family. You can get ostracized from your job, your school, your friends, from family by getting it wrong. We see it all the time. I can't believe what he said. You're no son of mine. You're fired. Just whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so there's this really strong training to get it right, not get it wrong, do what you're told, do what you're supposed to do, follow the domestication, in a sense, follow the standards and ideals that were created by other people for nefarious purposes. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't created, standards and ideals that you live by were not created by other people for your benefit. They were not created by you. They were created by other people, but they were not created by other people for your benefit. Well, if we'd all just, you know, whatever,
Yeah.
then everything would be fine. Yeah. So now principles and values are something completely different. Oh, standards and ideals, there's more. So standard is something. So if you look, someone is the gold standard, something is the gold standard for something. Essentially, what that means is unattainable.
Mm.
So
Same word.
standards high. Okay, well, I want to be the best. I want to be the best football player ever. Okay, good. Well, there's one best football player ever, right? You're not only
Oh, yeah.
competing with everybody who's alive, you're competing with everybody who's like dead, right? So,
Yeah.
not something that you're likely to obtain. I'm not saying it's impossible, right? It's not something you're likely to obtain. So you're setting yourself up to live a life of toil and effort in pursuit of something you think is going to make you happy. So you think you're not happy until you get the thing that you think is going to make you happy. And you've got it set up where it's highly unlikely you ever get anywhere close to obtaining it. So that's standard. Ideal is the same thing. Ideal is like, what's the ideal version of this? Well, it's this, you know, state of perfection that can never be obtained. It's, sometime out in the future. So ideal is also, in addition to attainable, impossible to obtain, it's an unspecified point in the future.
Or it also could have been something that you thought that you obtained in the past, and now that it's over, it's gone, and you can't even obtain it anymore still.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So standards and ideals share a quality of being unobtainable and not located in time.
Yeah.
Like it's a 1 day phenomenon. And by the way, that 1 day is never 2 days. So contrast, principles and values. A principle of values is something that you have chosen to hold valuable to you, that you have chose to be a fundamental pillar for who you are, how you live, how you make decisions, what you say, who you hang out with, how you live your life, every aspect of your life. So a principle and a value. I'm not really quite clear on the difference between standards and ideals and the difference between principles and values. So I'm using both sort of connected. So principles and values, a couple super important qualities. They're in the moment. I value integrity. Well, integrity is not something I'm going to obtain. It's not some impossible thing to realize. It's not at some unspecified point in the future. I can be a man of integrity now.
Now. Yeah.
Yes. So that's critically important to principles and values. That it's obtainable and that it's current, it's present, it's in the moment. So
Mm-hmm.
I used this to great effect a few years back when I was going through a very dark, scary time. Homeless, jobless, penniless, still have plenty of debt, uh, friendless almost, um, you know, jobless, all very scared, uh, partnerless, very scared, embarrassed, shameful. Um, and so I lost the game of standards and ideals. I was a failure. I was broke, homeless, in my 50s, as an embarrassing, shameful failure, especially coming from standards and ideals. Obviously, that's not correct. That's not the way it's supposed
Yeah.
to be. And so I definitely felt myself sinking into that world of shame and judgment and failure and it, um, what do you call it when you can't move? Um,
Paralyzed.
yeah, yeah. So it's definitely feeling myself slipping into all that, and then through some inspiration, divine intervention probably, it occurred to me to embrace a value, a principle,
Mm-hmm.
in response to sinking into the abyss. I felt myself sinking into the abyss that I had known very well, by the way. I had already by this time done a lot of transform work and led professionally for many years, but I definitely had the experience of sinking, right, into the
Yeah.
past, into the. And so I guess partially through my training and divine intervention and awareness, whatever, luck, grace, some combination of luck and grace. Um, uh, I it became uh, present for me to embrace a value, and the value that I embraced is contribution. And so I have nothing. I have considerably less than nothing. No prospects, nothing on the horizon, no opportunities or potentials that I'm present to. And I essentially make my situation worse by making a covenant, like a promise, like a promise I've almost never given before to myself and perhaps God. which was I'm going to be the biggest, baddest contribution I know how to be. And I'm going to have my ability to contribute be my salvation out of here, out of this hell that I got myself into. And so from now to this point, that was roughly 2016. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
So up until this point, I've never really known where I'm going. Like I'm in Costa Rica now. That's not my original destination. But I've always known what
Would I have
direction.
ever thought of been to be here? No.
Yes, I think I still thought it was 9. But um, so I never knew where I was going specifically, but I always knew what direction I was headed in, towards contribution. And later
Mm.
that became towards love. Later that became towards God. So I still don't know where I'm going, and I'm unmovable about which direction I'm headed. And so for me, it got paralysis. I think was where I think that's what we said.
Oh yeah,
No, but anyway, yeah. So it got me
paralysis.
out of my paralysis and my anxiety. I mean, I was still scared, and circumstances did not change from one day to the next, as you can imagine. However, um, all of a sudden, I was on a mission. All of a sudden, I had purpose. You know, and I was alive again. I was back in the game. I mean, I was really far behind, but it's the difference between the game being over and you're they have lost, between the game going and you're like incredibly far behind, but it is
Mm.
statistically possible. Like, hey, that's all I need, baby. Just give me a just give me just give me a little crack at that seam and then let me do my work, right? So three or 4 years of just gradually, coming back to life and that kind of stuff, meeting my future wife, and then meeting John, and my ability to contribute was the source of my contribution, that both to Donna and John, right? So, before I met John, I met Donna, and before I met
Yeah.
Donna, I was just in the abyss, right? But I had this real deep commitment to contribution, right? So Donna and mine's relationship started off very sort of superficial, but I part of the recipe for me being here and us being married is I was already a dialed in contribution, so I wasn't, on one hand she took me in and I was a puddle of mud and she nursed me back to life, but there was something that I was bringing to the game. There was a contribution that I was bringing to her. Um, and so my recipe for success held. And then I met John a couple of years later, and my ability to contribute to John personally and this mission professionally um, is has been my superpower. Is um, the vehicle that I created to live the abundant life that I live now. So it's very different than a standard, right? So a standard would be like I'm supposed to be a hero to people all the time, and a principle is being a contribution.
Hmm.
And the results are different. The actions are different, first of all. So a hero will help people even when it's in no one's best interest, and a contribution will not. Hey, help me! But if a contribution sees it's not in their best interest to be saved and not in my best interest to save you, a contribution will say no.
Right.
And from principle, you can do that. From standard, oh, I'm supposed to be everybody's hero all the time. No is not an option. I've
Yeah.
lived both. I've lived both lives, and they're incredibly different.
Oh yeah. Because I just want to pause there for a moment because
Yeah.
living purposefully, um, no one can dictate you
Yes.
or
Yes.
tell you what it is that you're doing or your soul's calling, and you'll know when you're living on purpose when it's authentic
Yes.
and when it's fulfilling and when it's real and you're not being punished or rewarded. And this comes into my next question because you say contribution, and for these listeners that are listening to this, um, how do we get behind the motives of what it is that we're doing, the actions that we're taking? Because that really, when we're stepping into life purpose and taking actions, consistent actions for our priorities, we have to know what the motive is that is driving us. And so that right there, like the contribution, yeah, I want to be a contribution. I want to be a badass contribution to my husband or my wife. And if we're doing it for something to get something in return, we've got it wrong. When we're doing it from an overflowing cup to be selfless and to give someone without anything in return, and it's coming from something, that is completely different. So I wanted to get your understanding on contribution from that frame, like coming for from something rather than for something.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, I initially grew up as a victim, right? I was taught to, my mother was the most accomplished victim I've ever seen. She could walk down the street and just kind of twitch, and three guys will show up, hey, what do you need? You know, it's like amazing. So I grew up in that space and that environment, and that's what I knew to, you know, to manipulate others around you to get what you want. That's essentially what a victim does. And then I started growing up, and I became a hero. And there were various stages of becoming a hero. But a hero, so a victim, first of all, is someone who gets validated in life by having people help them,
Mm.
right? Gets attention and significance by some version of, oh, please help me. Can't I can't do this thing. And then if someone sees the victim as worthy of time and attention and help, then the victim gets a little shot of, hey, I'm worthy. You know, hey, someone's paying me attention, significance, attention. The hero is, which is focus of your question, looks really good to the outside world. So victims look bad to the outside world, or depending, they either look like, oh, you know, just you know, take care of yourself, or they're like, oh, poor little victim, right? So that's how victims show.
Mhm.
Heroes often show up as very noble. Um,
Got my cape,
when I
ready to
was a
go.
kid, yeah, when I was a kid, I heard the story about a baker who was got up at some ridiculous hour in the morning to bake bread every morning. And one morning, someone came in and robbed him and shot him. And the baker, instead of going to the hospital and taking care of himself, he finishes his morning routine to get the bread out and then promptly dies. The story was presented to me as a noble tale of a hero.
Wow.
Look how committed he was. Isn't that awesome? Wouldn't let anything get in the way of his day work. But I'm thinking, yeah, but what about tomorrow? Where my bread gonna be tomorrow at? Who knows?
Did he leave the recipe?
Guess what? In just a few minutes, today's gonna be gone. What about tomorrow and all the other tomorrows? Like I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it. I couldn't get how other people couldn't get it. Like I couldn't get it why this person was being celebrated for not taking care of himself and then not being able to do his job for the next 20 or 30 years. Like I just couldn't get how that was the noble choice. But that's how heroes show up in the world. The point of this story is there's an unconscious worship of heroes.
Mm.
Somebody's going to step in the day. Somebody's going to give of themselves to their own pain and detriment. Isn't it amazing when people hurt themselves for others? Like there's like this weird thing about it. So anyway, I was a hero for a while, and I got the benefit of look at Kirk, help this person, help that person, made me feel better that day, and all this stuff. Right? Like I said, that was a big upgrade for me from victim to hero was good for Kirk. That was a nice step up for Kirk. Promotion, if you will.
Yeah.
So now,
And that's actually for anyone out there that's playing these roles that steps
I
into
think
this.
so.
It's like,
Yes,
oh, you
yes.
finally get this and you're the hero of your own story, but
Yeah,
wow. Yeah.
yeah.
So just
You'll
wanted
get,
to bring that
you'll
in there.
certainly get rewarded for it initially. So even if it's not a step
Yeah.
up, you'll definitely feel like it for me. Anyway, so now the hero creates an act of kindness purely for purposes of manipulation, and they may not be aware of it. So the hero will
Mm.
do an act of kindness purely for manipulation, 100%, and may not be aware of it, so would be deeply offended at the state. Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, that's not my
Deeply offended.
intention. Oh, that
Yeah, yeah,
wasn't what I was trying to do.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, you
the
don't
hell
know
is
me.
paved by good intentions, you know?
Exactly. Well, you just like to see people suffer? Not exactly. Anyway, so the hero does it for themselves essentially to be noble, to get attention and significance,
Yeah.
to improve the situation around the hero. Like I would do stuff for people. I would hero people so that people would like me. So just my fucking life would be easier. You know, when you walk into a group and everybody thinks you're awesome, it's very different than you walk into a group and everybody thinks you're a piece of shit. Very different experience. I don't know if anybody's ever played on both teams, but let me tell you, it's wildly different, right? So just a few little pop, 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 no big deal, no great effort. Oh, Kirk's amazing, boom.
Yeah.
Life is all of a sudden easier, right? So that's a purpose. That's a reason to be a hero. To get lots of attention and significance. I grew up not getting attention, not getting love. And so it was very easy to have a counterfeit experience of being loved and attended to. I would just do something amazing, blah, blah, blah. And
Mhm.
people talk, look at me and smile and say beautiful things for a few minutes and then, whatever.
Yeah. I want to
Um,
highlight a word that you just said right there is counterfeit. It's not
yeah,
real.
yeah,
It's an illusion. This is
yeah,
not real. It's something that we're doing, these actions that we're taking um, for something, and it's not real.
yeah,
It ends in so much pain and so
yes,
many things, and we don't even know that we're doing it. So
yeah,
I just wanted to bring awareness to that word and
beautiful,
highlight that word.
beautiful. Other reasons people hero are to take something, take a job, take a relationship, take someone's heart, money, be offered money. Heroes are great at getting people to do stuff for them without asking because you've been doing all this great stuff. Yeah, boy, I sure could use some help tomorrow moving. Oh, really? Well, I can stop by. Oh, really? Could you? That'd be awesome.
Oh wow, that's so subtle.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Don't cheat,
I
don't
I
don't
used
don't
to
pick up those tricks.
I used to be an impact player for the wrong team.
Mm,
So anyway, so there's all these reasons that people hero, and it looks like contribution to the untrained observer. So we just
yeah.
distinguish the world of hero, right? Manipulation, taking, safety, convenience, attention, significance. So let's look at the world of contributor, contribution, right? So I think we need to distinguish help and assisting here for just a moment. I'll make it brief. So helping is something you do for someone because you think they're not enough,
Mhm.
right? So a child trips on the street and there's a car coming, you help them off the fucking street because they're not enough to get out of the way of the car. That's appropriate use of help, right? Someone has a feeling about something and they throw a temper tantrum and you try to make them feel better. That's not helpful. That's enabling bad behavior, right? So helping is relating to someone like they're not enough. Sometimes people aren't enough. Child laying in the street, car bearing down on them. But most people pretend to not be enough as a manipulation. So if you fall into that by helping, by going with the pretense, oh, poor little thing, you don't know how to turn the TV on by yourself. Let me get that for you.
Mhm.
Oh, poor little thing, you don't want to have that difficult conversation. I'll take care of that for you. Oh, poor little thing, don't know how to cook. Here, I'll cook a meal for you. So teaching them how to fucking cook for the rest of their lives, right? So there's a relationship the helper has with the helpee that the helpee is smaller than the helper. This is critically important. It reinforces a couple things that are detrimental. Reinforces to the helpee that they're not enough by themselves and they need to keep finding people to help them do stuff rather than grow the fuck up. I'm getting a
Yeah.
little passionate here, right? And so every time the hero helps somebody, the hero robs the victim of the opportunity to grow up one more time. And many victims live their entire lives never growing up. And every time a hero steps in, there's one less opportunity for the victim to actually be a whole, complete human being. So, so helping is a unconscious relationship in which you think you're better than the person you're helping. So that's helping.
Mm.
Assisting is something entirely different. Assisting is two people who are whole and complete and who are peers, right? Working together,
Yeah.
giving each other a hand and whatever it looks like. Hey, would you like me to hold that nail for you? Not, oh, poor little thing, don't know how to do that here. Let me do that for you. That's helping.
Yeah.
Assisting is, yeah, oh, looks like you got your two hands filled up. Could you use a third? Well, actually, I could. Well, here you go.
Yeah. And there's a quote that John says here in Earthwaking. It's if you want to go slow, go alone. If you want to go fast, grow with the team.
Yeah,
And it's like the statement, four hands are better than two. But when you are helping, well, assisting each other in a purpose and a mission together, a collective mission and a collective purpose, that is rowing the mission forward when you're going faster together. And
yeah,
there's a huge difference in that, going and walking hand in hand with each other, than um, saying that, with the helping, like what you're distinguishing is keeping someone stuck in the mind frame or the perception
yes,
of where they're
yes,
at, and keeping them in this low vibrational state, and they can't seem to get out of that.
yeah,
We give hand ups but not handouts, and
yes.
there's a huge difference in that. So
So it feels like the key distinction is the relationship you have with the person, right? If you think you're better than them and they're small or weak, then you're helping. If you think they're the king or the queen of their thing or scene and you desire to add your abundance to their abundance, then that's assisting. So I think it all exists in a relationship, or, context is the story behind the story. So the story
yeah.
behind the story in helping is, hey, I know more than you, I'm better than you, I'm stronger than you, let me do that, let me ease your um, ease your burden for my benefit so that I'll look
Yeah,
amazing.
or even there, I just came through for me too with the person that says, "Well, I want to do it right, so I'm going to do it myself." And so the person also taking on all this stuff and the heavy weight on their shoulders
Yes,
because
yes,
they think that they want to do it right. And so I just wanted to
yeah,
bring that in
yeah,
for that
yeah,
person.
yeah, right, yeah.
That used to be me, by the way.
Yeah, me too, actually. I used to work myself to death because of my judgment of others. So,
Yeah.
um, so what was the last prompt
Uh,
question? Wrapping that up.
the contribution now, it was about, because you went into helping and assisting, and now it's going back into the understanding the motives behind
Oh,
your contribution.
well, actually, let me go back to helping for a moment. So if you are
Okay.
someone who's helping, a lot of people are helpers, right? And they don't like to admit it because I just made it sound bad and all the stuff, right? But find this in yourself, right? So if you're a helper, the vibe is you're feeling significance by feeling bigger, stronger, better than the person you're helping, right? And so you get a hit, like a dopamine hit from being better, stronger, clearer, smarter, whatever. And
Yeah.
then you help somebody, right? And are they just went through the journey of being too small. You just went through the journey of being the answer, right? Boom. Now, there's a step deeper than that. So that means that you're somebody walking around relating to people as less than you. So that's going to be hard for some people. That's going to be hard for helpers to find. Because no, I don't think they're not as good as me. I just like to help people out. Yeah, but notice you're choosing helping people out. Notice you're not choosing spreading love. You're not choosing having an awesome conversation. You're not choosing having lunch with them. You're choosing something very specific. Oh, I like to help people. Okay. I like to support people, but that's a lot of different things. I don't like to help people because I don't view people like they need my help. I consciously and on purpose view people like kings and queens and begin every relationship offering respect, offering the relationship. Hey, I'm ready to relate to you as a quick king or queen. What do you say? Now, most people say
Yes.
no in the way that they do.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I got your yes immediately, right? But most people say no indirectly, right?
Yeah.
In some way, right?
That
Certain,
was me. That was me a while, not even that long ago. I was
yeah,
like, "What? Me? Are you serious? I don't."
yeah, yeah. So, so I'm getting to something. So, if you're someone who automatically tends to relate to people as not enough and they need your help, guess who you fundamentally relate to as not enough and needs help?
Yeah.
Just let that sit for a moment. Let the tension build. If you're someone who often relates to people is not enough and needing help, guess who you fundamentally relate to as someone who is not enough and needs help? You. So you're literally extinguishing the life force out of yourself and others as you go around helping people because you're reinforcing the idea that other people are small and need help. You're reinforcing the idea that you're not enough unless you're helping people. And you're reinforcing the idea that you, in fact, are not enough because you live in a world where some people are not enough. And so I'm offering a completely different perspective is that everybody is a king or a queen.
Yeah.
And they don't need help. Some people could use a little guidance. Some people could use a hand up. Some people could use a little support. Some people don't need nothing from you. Some people, what they need from you is to stay out of their way. Probably what most people on the planet need from you is to stay out of their way, probably. Right.
Yeah.
And then every now and then somebody shows up in your reality that has a hunger for something that you've already mastered, has a hunger for an accomplishment that is something that you accomplished. So I don't help people. And I've made it a point to train and develop myself as someone who can support people masterfully. So I offer support, and then people choose yes or no. And when people choose no, I honor their no. When people choose yes, I honor their yes. And people can change their mind at any time. Somebody says yes, can say no. Somebody says no, can say yes. It makes no difference to me. But I then also, to be someone who could support people masterfully, I had to be able to support myself masterfully because it all begins with me. It all begins with
Yeah.
you, if whoever's the focal point. And then in order for me to see people as the king or queen of their scene, I had to learn to see myself as a king. And that was among the most difficult things I've ever done. People who don't know me think that I have a very high opinion of myself and whatever, arrogant, whatever. But it's actually quite the opposite. It's actually a miracle that people would see that in me, given where I started. I never saw myself as worthy of anything, or capable of anything. And that I now, to this day, at 61 years old, see myself as a king of something I find beautiful. Um, that was unpredictable. So this
I want
idea of being a kind, I'll just finish up right quick. I'm gonna let the sirens go down. So with regard to being the king, I'm a undisputed king of my thing. I'm known as a king. I operate as a king. I know myself as a king. I'm definitely a king. And this moment about 7 years ago when I decided to cut off from all the other options to be a badass contribution. I believe is how I said it to myself. That was really the beginning of my kingship. And my kingdom didn't look like squat at the beginning, and it is quite beautiful at this time.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring in what you said about relating to yourself, the relationship that you have with yourself as a king. And it you pronounced it so well. It's being worthy of actually holding that name for yourself. And most of the time we're doing things constantly from like, I'm not enough. And I'm not enough. Why? Because we relate to somebody as not worthy or undeserving or unlovable or whatever it may be. And like recently I've been finding that worthiness inside of myself and relating to myself as a queen. And it has been uncomfortable to witness how I related to myself other than that.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm like, wow, like, and that's the only thing that God asks for us is just to be worthy to receive the love that I have to offer you. And so I really wanted to just, that's the only thing he wants us to do is just to receive that gift. And thank you for bringing that distinguishment in about when it started for you and what belief you had to carry to start that trajectory of I am worthy and I am a king. So your kingdom, your temple is being reflected as such. And it starts with you and it starts with receiving that worthiness. So thank you for bringing that in, bringing that
Welcome.
one in. Yeah. It's, it highlights another thing for me as well is to be in service is um, to transform our heart, you know, from selfish to selfless. And that also highlights the contribution aspect. You know, like I'm going to be someone that's a resource. I'm going to be someone that um, can relate to themselves as someone worthy enough to be in service for everyone else that's worthy so they can too have that transformation inside of themselves. It's just wow. Just wow. That's way different. It's way different than to have these standards and ideals and what we're supposed to do and what we should be doing, and to like, no, I want to do this and I get to do this, and what kind of life that feels like, you know? And no thank you to that. And yes to this. And just wow. Um, it brings me into my next question is, with all of this, is coaching yourself as the observer of your past experience. You know, it's, I recognized the other day when you were talking, like in the visionary leadership program, it was like you had made yourself lowly, not in the sense of like low, but to recognize your failures so as a gift and as an offering of observing past transgressions or whatever it may be, failures, and to look at that past experience so you can transform it to the betterment of yourself and the people around you, to be that resource. So um, how does one coach oneself as the observer of their past experience?
Um, well, I'm someone who's deeply committed to performance, like results, impact. Whenever I do anything, I'm really very interested in results, um, and I use those results to improve whatever the thing is that I'm doing. And so when I'm coaching, the results that I covet are the freedom of the people that I'm speaking to, both expressed in experientially, like, wow, I feel free. I feel like I know I've never felt before, or freedom to take action and produce results that were unavailable. in the past. So freedom is the perform, the result of freedom is, I think, the thing that I'm most directed by and towards and for and all this stuff. So I notice that people are often very reluctant to discuss their own failures.
Hmm.
And I also notice that people really light up when I discuss my failures. There's a little disconnect inside of me. I don't I often miss. I don't. I'm not always present to how people see me. Like, because I know my personal story from my perspective, and I know all the failures and all the restarts and the, I was starting from
Hmm.
nothing again. Okay, great. Like
Woohoo!
I don't know how many times, right? But people who have only known me for a few years have really only mostly seen this result of decades of trial and error and development, and you know I actually have some results now, right? So I think people tend to relate to me like the way I'm now is the way I've always been, or something like that. And so I notice that when I share failures from the past, or uh, that sort of thing, the whole room just lights up in a way that I keep forgetting how much. In a way, they're like, "Oh yeah, people love this." I forget. So it kind of feels like that, right? And I get it, I get it. But I forget that I'm not always accounting for and present to people who haven't experienced my past the way I have, right? So anyway, so I I don't remember making a commitment the way you said it, but I do remember really searching for how to make this evening like inescapably impactful, like
Hmm.
hitting all of you in between the eyes, like boom, like that's my for in a specific way. And so, yeah, I don't remember what I shared about exactly, but I remember like going deep to open up to reveal the safety and the power of discussing the things that we don't like to discuss. You used the word authenticity earlier at the very beginning of this. And the way I like to think of that is being authentic is saying the things you haven't been saying.
Yeah.
Now, mostly I don't talk about my past so much because there's a lot of it and there's lots of different stories, and just I don't know. Like I broke the habit of talking about my past many years ago, and so now it's like situational for impact only. And I don't even remember all my story. I don't even remember anymore. They're so out of practice, But so I made a decision not to tell my stories all the time. And the
Hmm.
downside of that is sometimes I forget how valuable and impactful they can be when they're delivered at the right time with the right energy.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I remember is going deep and revealing the safety of revealing what people are afraid to reveal. So I always love it when I see somebody getting off to a quicker start than me. Oh, I didn't get there for 5 years. Well, I didn't, but it was there for 20 years. Like I love that because it highlights to people like, oh, maybe because people use me as a reference point. I don't, it's just that people just do. So when I can show people that they're ahead of my progression at some point, I like to do that. So it's all kind of in that spirit of trying to checkmate people into an awareness of um, that everything they need is within them, and uh, any future is possible.
Mm. Wow.
Did I address what you were pointing to, or did I miss the mark?
Yes, and there's a flavor that I'm
Okay.
looking for, and it ties in with all of these things about one, the question prior was the motives and understanding our actions and how we're moving forward, and the way that we can be a coach to our own lives because we're the one that's directing our ship, we're the one guiding our ship, and there's times where we have to observe ourselves and our experiences, and how do we move forward in our purpose? How do we take consistent action that's moving towards this purpose so we can
Okay.
observe and coach ourselves from the past? So you did bring a beautiful highlight to that, but that's what I was touching on.
Okay, well, I heard the question a little differently, and I have I think, a powerful and brief answer, right? So,
Okay.
one method I have is continue to get the lessons, continue to great lessons, right? So, with regards to coaching myself, if there's something I get triggered by, I'm dealing with, I get upset by, whatever, I start a process of extracting lessons from it. I call it harvesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've done the work to hoe the fields and plant the seeds and water them. Now I'm waiting to go, or I went to the grocery store, paid for my groceries. Now I'm waiting for the groceries. Um, so if I experience pain, let's use that in the most general sense, right? Then I want to get something for it. Somebody says this thing hurts my feelings, and I'm pissed off for 2 hours, right? That's a cost. That's an investment. I'm transmuting that into an investment. Okay, so I've invested this much energy, discomfort, and time. Hmm. Let's look at the menu.
What happened
possible
here?
possible lessons, yeah, possible breakthroughs. Because now that I've paid the money and the time and the energy, I want to get something of equal or greater. I actually want to get something of exponentially greater value, but I'll accept something of equal or greater value.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've come up with really cool lessons. So one way I coach myself is to monitor how I'm doing. Oh, I'm upset. Great. Wait, what am I upset about? Oh, he said that thing. So why did he say that thing? Oh, okay. Well, what was I doing right before that? Was I being a dickhead? No, I don't think so. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
it just started to like, oh, yes, there's that. There's that. Oh, wait, that's familiar. Oh, yes, that happens every time. I have that feeling every time this happens. Oh, here's was that first. Oh shit, here's that. Oh, there it is. I found it. Hey, everybody's like having a whole different conversation. Like, hey, I found it. I found it. Like, what are you talking about? So I go lesson, and I'm satisfied when the profit is greater than the expense. When I feel like
Yeah.
I get the lesson is greater than the pain or time it took to drive. So that's one way I coach myself,
Mm.
and that can be very creative because I get to say what the lesson is, and I get to assign the value to it. So it can literally be anything. It can literally be anything. As long as I feel like it was worth it, the time and discomfort, then I'm good. And I coach that with others. I try to extend that paradigm to others because it's been very valuable for me.
Yeah. And I heard something in your share just there was about you're the one that's creating the value that you're
Yes,
bringing to. And
yes,
that's different. And we are doing that. We don't even know that we're doing that. And so it brings us right back to the beginning of this conversation where living a life of purpose is prioritizing what truly matters to us. And that's according to our values and our beliefs. And we're the ones that are making meanings out of this. We're the
good.
ones that can create the value and create the belief. And so I wanted to bring that in uh, with what we just talked about, making these impacts, these moments of painful experiences towards our freedom and towards our purpose. It's not going to be the absence of pain that's going to be there. And let that be the indicator for your life about what is so valuable for you, your
Beautiful.
relationships, your happiness, your purpose, your fulfillment in this life. And
I
so,
like that. I like that.
yeah, 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 and that brings in the authenticity of it, like, hey, oh snap, that hurt, what happened, what did I do,
Ow!
yeah, I feel that one hurt. So just thank you again for this conversation, Kirk. I just each week it brings this depth and this, like, it lights me up from the inside out, these topics and these conversations. And Just thank you for your heart. Thank you for opening up and bringing these things in. I do want to say that we do have a resource. Kirk did bring this in a bit about the dollar collapsing. We do have a bridge. It's called Bridge Bucks. I'm going to put the resource down inside of the comment section in here for you guys if you'd like to join the new Earth economy and have a bridge from the old dollar system into the new dollar system. I also am going to put a link for the Freedom to Be Masterclass. That is a masterclass where you can find your freedom and your authenticity and a roadmap to your freedom to be able to get and dial in perspectives that we've been living in and create a new way of being, a new way that we want to live our lives from. And I'll put that inside the chat as well. And same with the Visionary Leadership Program. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you for living a life on purpose, and we'll see you next week.
So welcome. Thank you.